Welcome to the Suicide Prevention Show. We are waking up the world to the power of positivity, making suicide, especially teen suicide, a thing of the past. And in this episode, we're going to go where angels fear to tread. We're going into the realm of decision making and its impact. So we're going to be talking with Dr. Moses McCutcheon. And I'm not going to try to pronounce that again. But he works with teens and he works with them on what for some people they think is the most important decision of their life. But is it? So please help me welcome to the studio our guest, Dr. Moses. Would you please turn on your camera and your microphone and join me in the studio? There you are. Look at you with that professional setup. Don't you look cool? All right.
Hello, how are you?
I'm excited to be here. How are you?
Yes, I'm excited to be here and I'm feeling great and enjoying the program.
Well, good. I am delighted to hear that. And thank you for making time to come on and share with us this very important topic.
Thank you.
So let's get clear. What's the age group that you usually work with?
Between age 12 and 18.
Okay.
Age 12 and 18 is the target group.
All right. And so kids between the ages of 12 and 18, What is so important about this range? Because we're talking 6 years out of a kid's life.
Right. What's so important about this is that at age 18, the government and the way the system is set up is that a child becomes an adult at age 18. And this is, when I think about that, I also think about the foster care agencies whereby the child at 18 is just without any training, is just thrown, if you will, to the wolves, if you speak. They're out in the world without any preparation, any training, any guidance, and they're literally on their own. And
Wow.
so there is no time to plan on the spot. So the idea that if we can reach them during the K-12 years, then that's the planning time. And if they are in a public school system, there's literally no cost to the parent or minimal cost to the parent. And this is the best time to do the planning to step out into the real world.
Well, the real world is a pretty flippin' scary place. I mean, it always has been for kids, but now it's gone from scary to terrifying. We'll just call it what it is.
Yes.
So let's go back in time. How did you end up in this specific field? Because this is a really narrow niche, this point of decision for kids.
Yes. Excellent question. How I got into this is that from an early age, I've always thought that people, one, should love what they do in order to be able to do good work. And I found myself thinking about, well, what is that for me? What does that mean for me? What do I really love doing that I want to continue to do? And I didn't have an answer to that. And so that became a focus for me. And so I had learned to do many things during my K-12 years, but I still didn't have the answer at age 18 when I knew that I would be going to college, but then I didn't have an answer to what my major would be, nor an answer to what my minor would be, but still yet I was spending money. My parents put up money, and then I had to get a student loan to be able to pay for the first year of college. So I'm paying for something and I'm not sure what I'm getting for that. And the second thing is that if I'm going to pay for this, is this something that I'm going to be able to use? So it's decision time now, and I don't know how to make this decision.
Well, yeah, I can
And
see.
that's how I got into this, because I had to figure out a way to deal with this. I had literally been a goal setter, so I set a goal, and then I reached that goal. But now in this particular case, I don't know which goal to set, because I don't know what my major is going to be. I had to come up with a plan, and I did ultimately come up with a plan, but I had to slow things down so I could figure things out step by step.
Is this why we're seeing a rise in the 5-year college plan?
That's part of it. There may be other things, but that's part of it, because one of the things is that many of the students who go into school, they leave high school at age 18. At 19, they're in the first year of college, and they hadn't figured this out. This has nothing to do with intelligence, by the way. Some of these students are so smart. I mean, they are literally honor roll students. But when it comes to this part of the puzzle, they are struggling because they don't have clear goals and they don't know how to make this decision. Okay. So what happens is that they either change majors, so that adds on to the time, and some of them drop out, and many times they don't tell the parent. The parent doesn't know this is going on. So a 4-year degree could easily turn into 5 years or turn into 6 years, because they're constantly changing majors. And I can tell you for a fact that if this problem is not dealt with during the K-12 years or even during college, it follows you for life into the workplace. And that's how many of the students turn out to be employees that have jobs that they hate. And then there are those that are in graduate school. Like there's a case, there are other cases, but I remember specifically this case where this person was studying to be a psychologist. And now, and in the class, and decide that no, this is not what I want to do. This is not it. This is not what I want to do. So all that time is wasted, and money is wasted, and there's debt to be paid, because
Well, there is that to be
the
paid.
school does not return any of that. When you change majors, you just adding on to the school's budget.
All right, so now we understand the problem. The
Hmm.
problem is that people are following
Yeah.
teens coming out of high school
Yes.
are following a higher education track, no matter
Yes.
what it is, that
Yes.
they don't know why they're doing it.
Right.
And so they're in it and
Yeah.
trying to decide what they want to do.
Right.
And that's expensive, time consuming, and prevents us from actually growing into our brilliance.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
what's the cure for this?
The cure is actually early planning. The research clearly shows that uh, career planning should start as soon as possible, but not later than the seventh grade. And
Whoa,
I,
whoa, whoa.
yeah,
Seventh grade?
yes, and let
In
me
the
let
seventh
me.
grade, I'm not sure that I would have had a clue what I wanted my career to be. What does career planning look like for a seventh grader?
Well, what happens is that, let's look at this. I laid out a chart.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, yeah, I laid out a chart to actually take a look at that. So if you look at year one, a child is 1 year old. From year one to year four, it's basically homeschooling. Okay, homeschooling, because they're still at home with the parents. The
Okay.
parents can be observing and what they're doing and that sort of thing. Okay, at age 5, they can start kindergarten.
Yeah.
Okay, they can start kindergarten, and then age 6 is first grade.
Mm-hmm.
So they literally have age between sixth grade and 12th grade to decide what they're going to be doing after high school.
Right. They got from age 6 to age 18, from first grade to
Yes,
12.
yes. So
Okay.
seventh grade, see, seventh grade now, with a course, you can teach them how to choose. They don't have to make, they're not forced to make any decisions.
Oh, okay. So then it's
You
about
teach them the
teaching them how to
process.
choose.
Yes,
Oh, cool. So how to make a decision. What a great class that would have been to take in seventh grade.
yes, yes,
Now I'm with you. Cool.
yes.
Right. So how do we make decisions?
We need information to make decisions.
All right. I thought you were going to wave a magic wand. Yeah.
You need information to make decisions. And the idea here is that since this has nothing to do with intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that the school system realized that the kids are intelligent and they are taught English, they are taught math, they are taught how to do various things academically, they can be taught how to choose a college or trade school major and career, which should be a course like any other course.
All right. So there we go. We're going to should on them and tell them what they should do. Let's go with what they could do.
Hmm.
If they could create a course on
Hmm.
decision making, what are the key components of good decision making besides go and gather information? Because in the age of Google, you
Hmm.
tell me to go get information, you might not see me again for 20 years.
Right. Okay. With regard to what I'm doing,
Mhm.
the greatest gift that a parent can give a child is self discovery.
Tell me more.
To discover one's life purpose as it relates to work. Now, what does that mean? That means we start to look at if age 1 through 4, the kid is on automatic. They're just doing things.
They're just
And
being kids.
everything that they are doing is a potential career, whatever they are doing. And somebody is making a living from that. And if you talk to kids in the first grade, and spoken with many of them, they will raise their hand. And if you ask them, well, the age old question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Every kid will raise their hand and they'll tell you things like doctor, lawyer, and the conventional type work, but everyone will raise their hand. Now, if it were possible for you to follow any one of those kids through high school, you'll find out most of them become confused the further that they go up. And that same kid that knew in first grade, in 12th grade now does not know. Okay. And the number of students that start school in ninth grade, the school might start with, as an example, 300 students. By the time graduation time arrive, that might be 150 out of that same class. So what happens? Many of them drop out of school
I mean,
because they're not making the connection, and it's not taught. They're not making the connection between school and a future. There's no
okay, so
connection there.
that's a pretty startling statistic. You're talking about a 50% dropout rate.
Yes, but the number is different. The number is different depending on what the school is, and I use that as an example. But the number is pretty high, where they drop out between ninth grade and 12th grade, and they
Now,
and they're doing different things,
all
and
right. So what
they're
we've
doing
got
different
here is
things. Yes,
we've got two problems.
hmm
We've got the kid who makes it out of high school and is confused going into college or trade school about who they want to be and what they want to do.
right.
And then we have the kids who don't even make it through high school.
Right, right,
Okay, so we got two different groups here.
right.
What makes let's just name the elephant in the room. What makes the difference between a kid who makes it through high school and a kid who doesn't?
Well, they could, for example, because I have a course now that teaches this, and I created that course. Um, with my own school, I had excellent teachers. They were teaching what was taught to them,
Hmm.
and I received a good general education. But what I didn't get, I didn't know how to use that education after leaving high school. And I didn't see where that education connected to any specific career. That's the piece that was missing.
All right, so I have a 14-year-old grandson
Hmm.
who just called me out on this on
Hmm.
Algebra 2 because I got asked to help tutor him in higher
Hmm.
math.
Hmm.
And he's like, when am I ever going to use this? How does this apply? So at 14, he is absolutely in the struggle with trying
Yes,
to figure out why what he's being told to learn could possibly help him.
right. Absolutely. I I understand the issue. And here's what happens in the K-12 years, and that's what he's right in the middle of that now.
Mhm.
The system is designed, and I have to admit, I used to say, the school is not, the schools are not doing a very good job with education. I used to say that, and even if I didn't say that, I used to think that, and I have learned differently. What happens is that the school system is doing a good job with what they're doing. It's just that there is a gap between what they're doing and what a child is going to experience when they enter the real world. So what happens now, even the terminology is different. So a person, when they when they're in school, the school want to know, what is your major? Well, then when you look at major, that's a group of related subjects that the school system has put together to say this is what you need, and is broad enough so that with guidance you can prepare for a future. But you're not taught how to use that education. You're not taught how how it connects. So the idea that a child is in the K-12 years, they're getting a good general education, a broad education,
Mhm.
and then they have to be taught how to use that. So, for example, career exploration. I have, for example, 8 steps that I could share with you on how to choose a college or trade school major and career. Now, each one of these steps will go into details, but which I'm not able to cover here, but I can tell you what those steps are, um, in terms of doing that. And the fact that every general subject in class, somebody somewhere is making a living from that subject, and it's being used somewhere, but the teacher is not teaching that, and rightfully so. The teacher might be a person who's academically inclined, who went through
Well,
high
wait a minute.
school.
The teacher is a great example of somebody making a living with that subject matter.
Yes, with that subject matter. But now the idea is that that same subject looks different in the real world than it looks in the classroom.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Mhm. So now that's why it's so important for collaboration. So they said, look, you are in this class, and now let's see what this class look like in the real world. Now, those are two different things, caterpillar and a butterfly.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to ask the question. This is the elephant in the room
Yes,
because I know what answer I gave to my 14-year-old grandson.
right.
What is the answer? What does algebra 2 look like in the real world?
Well, here's what I would have to do with algebra 2 in the real world. I'd have to, and I do, because of this, I do ongoing case study research. So I find uh, a career that uses it, and we play that. I have a special system with that shows videos of various careers, and
Mhm.
I'm going to look that one up and get that to you.
Well, thank you. I feel
Yes.
better now that you didn't have an easy, obvious answer to that.
Yes. No, I don't. No, but many of them. I'm sorry, but many of them of the careers. That's why I'm set up to do ongoing case study research because I'm always going to get one that's not like an example. When we do trigonometry or any courses like that, I have to look up careers for that and then show them that this is what being done and this is how it's used and where it's used.
I spent time in the human resources world,
Right.
and I was shocked to discover the huge percentage of people who had careers that had no obvious relationship to their college degrees.
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
And so, what I told my grandson at 14, who said, how is this going to help me? I'm like, it's teaching you how to solve a problem.
Hmm.
Because we were doing the complicated formulas where you had to reduce things down and figure out what it would look like if it wasn't complicated. And I'm
Right.
like, it's teaching you problem solving skills. You will use these everywhere in your life. That
Right.
was the only answer I could give him. I didn't have an answer for how he could use this to make a living
Yes.
directly.
Yes.
And so I'm going to be looking for that. We'll have to do an update when you get that to me. All
I
right,
will. Yes.
8 steps. We're not going to deep dive into them, but we're going to talk about them. And then we're going to talk about your gift because you have an amazing gift for the people who are paying attention here. So, and whether you're live or whether you're listening to this in a recording, either way, we have a gift for you. All right, 8 steps. Lay them on me.
Okay. The 8 steps that I have. 8 steps to choosing your college or trade school major and career based on your life purpose as it relates to work. Okay. So what I teach is that your life purpose is a tool, is the tool for you to use as a basis for choosing your college or trade school major and career. So how do we discover that? Well, we can, and the audience feel free to write this down. I have an exercise that we can do if you want, and we can run through that exercise, or I can just tell you what the 8 steps are. Which do you rather?
Oh, I like exercises. Everybody up for some exercise? Woo! All right, let's go. I got pen and paper. I tell everybody at the start of the summit, get yourself a notebook. This is my summit notebook. I got lots of notes. All right, lay it on me.
Okay, what you want to do, the first thing is think about all of the things that you love. I mean, don't write down nothing that you hate or that you are neutral about. Put the things down that you enjoy, things that you are doing without even thinking about it. Write those things down and write down at least three of them right now. The list can be as long as you like.
Okay,
Okay.
so 3 things that you love to do and you just do them. So for me, that would be reading,
Mhm.
writing, and dancing.
Reading, writing, and dancing.
Mhm.
Okay. So now let's assume that that list is much longer. If
Okay.
that list were much longer, let's say 10 items on that list, what you want to do, you want to prioritize those lists. Which one is, if you could only do one of them, which one would be one?
Okay.
And then which one would be two and which one would be three?
So I've got lots of forced decision matrix kinds of decision making tools because I've struggled with this most of my life.
Right.
And so if I go, okay, I've got 1 and 2, which one would I pick? And then if I, whatever one of those, I would compare it to the next one. That's how I use a forced decision matrix.
Okay.
So if I got down, so 1 and 2, oh, 2 is better. 2 and 3, 2 is still better. 2 and 4, 4. Okay. So I would just run through my list that way until I got to the one that would made the most sense for me.
Okay.
All right. So let's just say I ended up with writing
Okay. That's number 1.
as number 1. That was the one thing that made it to the top of the list.
Okay. All right. So what you want to do with that, you want to help confirm that that's the one. So you want to do what is called job shattering.
Oh, okay. I'm familiar
Job,
with shadowing.
yes, job shattering. Now, what is that? I guess that's your next question. What is that?
So go for it. For
Okay,
anybody who
your
doesn't
job,
know,
okay, job shattering now. Since you have gone through the process of listing
oh,
everything
wait.
that you
Oh,
love, and then you've gotten it down to 3, and
I've
you've
got a
chosen your one.
I've got a disconnect here.
What's that?
What kind of a job would writing be?
Well, writing that falls in the area of journalism. You
Okay.
could be a reporter.
Okay.
You,
So
you
that would
could also be, yes, you could also be a ghostwriter for books.
okay. So those would
Yes,
be 2 different job shadowing opportunities.
yes, yes,
Got it. All right.
yes.
I can eliminate ghostwriting. I'm not putting anybody else's name on what I write because this is now, I'm a woman
That's
of the
just coming to mind real quick.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but
Okay.
writing, and then the newspaper articles and stuff like that. That's what you're going to with writing. A lot of opportunities in writing.
Got it.
Okay, and so then you find somebody that's doing that, and the Workforce Investment Board have work soul centers, and special programs where we're able to
Hold
make
it.
those type
A workforce
work
investment board?
no work source
Oh,
work soul
source.
centers. Yeah, but it is workforce, what they call it, the workforce board, and they have work source centers
Oh,
that, yeah, this is where people go to, and they can apply for jobs and different things. Okay,
okay.
they
Cool.
call it the workforce development board. That's what they, yes, and they have slightly different names in different cities, but that's basically what they are. and,
Got
and so and they normally have summer programs for students, paid and unpaid internships. So you choose a person that's actually doing this work, and you watch them work. You shadow them for a day. Whatever they're doing, you follow them around, and take a look, and you say, okay, well, that's something I like to continue. Now, if it turns out that you do not like that,
Mhm.
then you can stop it there. But if you like it, the next step is to do an intern.
Got it.
To do an intern. Now this is where you get an opportunity to actually do the work. Now let me share an example with you. um there was a student that was training to be a nurse. I mean, she was a straight A student, and it was time for her to go for her internship. She had been through the job shadowing and all of that, and the job shadowing didn't include the emergency room. But then during the internship, an emergency came in, and so she went, to take part in it, and she fell out.
Mm,
What happened was she did not realize she could not stand the sight of blood.
it's a detail when you're a nurse.
That's key, yes, but she didn't know that. She didn't realize, she didn't know that.
Wow.
And so she fell out, literally fell out. And she discovered doing that internship that, she couldn't stand the sight of blood. Now that didn't prevent her from becoming a nurse, but she definitely couldn't work in the emergency room in that type of an environment. So that's
Got
why it's very important that that we start early enough so that we can examine and test our whatever our major going to be before we get into it.
That's really interesting because I have two nurse practitioners in my family.
Hmm.
One of them does urgent care, the
Yeah,
other does hospital administration.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, two, both nurse practitioners, but two very different career paths.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, see, the person that fell out, one of the things I would literally tell her as an education advisor is that, your funds are not lost. You can still be a nurse, but administration, look at one of the areas that your family is working with.
Yeah, a little less bloody. Got it.
Yes.
All right. So that's really interesting. All right. So
Mhm.
there we go. Keep us on track here. What is the next step?
Okay, so after you have decided that that you want to continue and you want to do the internship, you
Mhm.
set the internship up and then you finish the internship. Now, the internship could be paid or unpaid because the workforce centers also have paid uh, uh, internship. But I
Mhm.
would not base the decision on that. The important things here now is to get the experience.
Got it.
Is to get the experience because once a person use their life purpose to choose a college or trade school major in career, they basically already have the gifts and skills there. It just need to be discovered. So once we discover that, they can really go directly to work while they get the degree, or they can go directly to work doing what it is that they do because they already have the gifts for that. But it's a discovery process. More than 50% of the students think they know. I'm sorry, more than 50% will admit that they don't know what they want to be or do after graduation. I was in that group. And then, and for a while, that was the story that I told because I was still doing research. Later, I found out about this other 47%, which now uh, ongoing case study research is an ongoing part of my platform. I discovered that this 47% were in a worse place than the ones that knew that they didn't know. And here's why. The 47% was the group that said, I know what I'm going to be, and this is what I'm going to do. And they don't discover that they have made the wrong decision until after they have paid for the 4 year college degree.
Which are the people that I was interviewing when I was in human resources. I mean, I had people
Yep.
managing research centers who had history degrees.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to manage a team of telephone, researchers, and they were doing team management, and yet their degree was
Yes.
in ancient history.
Yes.
You,
Yes.
I mean, two very different skill sets.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that what you saw was the more than 77% of the people in the workplace that hate their jobs.
Ah,
And if they hate their job, they can't do a good job. And that's a problem for the employer.
well, yeah, it is because they start to coast. I
Yes.
call I call it taking option three. It's where you've actually left the ballpark. You just forgot to take your body with you. The body's still showing up for work and collecting a paycheck, but I mean, you want to talk about a disengaged person.
Yes.
And so how to prevent disengagement is not what I mean, oh my God, if you haven't seen the programs, there are programs and classes for employers to be able to re-engage their workforce.
Yes.
But if they're in the wrong field for them and they
That's
don't
right.
know that they're in the wrong field for them, there's nothing the employer can do.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct.
Oh my goodness, what a hot mess we've got.
Yes.
All right. So, what are we going to do about this? Dr. Moses, give us some.
Well, Well, what we're going to do, we are going to, we offer a program. It starts with an assessment. It always starts with an assessment. Need to know where you are in relationship to where you want to be, or think you were, or think where you want to be.
So this
So,
is the discovery process that we were
mhm,
talking about.
yes, uh-huh.
Taking and going on a journey of self-discovery. When a parent wants to guide their kid to go on a journey of self-discovery, what are some free resources that they can find?
Okay, you can,
Because I know you've got a gift. I mean, we've got the 20 must know facts to fast
yes,
track your child's
yes,
success.
yes. They can go to the on the internet, and they can Google specific things that they want to get done. The colleges and the high schools have career centers, but they don't have counselors that actually teach a course with that. It's pretty much self. You're just on your own, and then many of the students are not taking advantage of that because they need guidance to go with that. So they can use a community college center to look at their resources. The high schools should have a career center where they could go and take advantage of the resources that are there.
And so the question is there anybody in these centers who can guide them to
Well, the
actually
problem,
go on this self-discovery?
well, what the problem is, there are not enough
Mm,
counselors to do this. And take, for example, the average classroom, and we were talking to a teacher earlier today.
mhm.
The average classroom, for example, has, let's say, 30 to 35 students that have uh, uh, different learning styles.
Mhm.
On average, the teacher's really only reaching about 10% of those students.
So that
You
means
have the
that there's
one
20.
teacher, yeah, you have the one teacher and trying to teach to with a class 35 to 40. And I know in California they were trying to get the classroom size and maybe across the country down to 20 students, but that hasn't really been
Oh,
very successful.
no, because now we've got all this e-learning, and so the classrooms have gotten bigger, not smaller.
Right. Now, let's take a look at this. You're looking at a teacher with 30 to 40 students in the classroom, and you're looking at a counselor that has um, about 300 students.
Yeah, at least. In
Yes, you
we have
see.
one counselor.
Now on the low end in California, and I had statistics on every state, and it changes, but it doesn't change very much. On
Mhm.
the low end, there were 448 students to one counselor on the low end, and on the high end, it was over 900 students.
What?
Yes, to one counselor. A school with 3,000 students might have six counselors.
Yeah, but that's
And a counselor might be assigned, if it's a high school, the counselor might be assigned by grade level. So by grade level means that a school with 400 students, each counselor and 400 and 100 students are in each class. That means each counselor have 100 students.
you can't spend 15 minutes a week with 100 students.
No. So what's the solution? The solution then, it really fall the career guidance piece really fall back on the parents. So one of the things I teach is that the parent let the counselor know. I tell the parents what questions they can be asking the counselor about their child, because it's going to be hard for the child to get to the counselor in the first place. The counselor sometimes dealing with other issues, a student that has a knife, a student that getting in trouble, or a student who two students are fighting, and that sort of thing. And in some cases, when the teacher is out, The counselor might be in the classroom teaching. So then you don't have any counselors that particular day.
Mm.
So you don't have enough of them to do all of this that needs to be done.
So, for the counselor to guide
Hmm.
a student on their discovery process,
That's not happening.
all right, let's wave a magic wand. I'm going to give you a magic wand. All right.
Okay.
So, and actually, we're going to give it to everybody who's here and who's watching this later. The magic wand. All right. So, the 20 must know facts.
Yeah.
And I put the link in the chat for everybody. It
Okay.
sounds like the first must know fact is that this is up to you as a parent. You cannot depend on a guidance counselor in a high school to
Yeah,
help your child.
that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, to get the most help, and I have a follow up to that. To get help from the counselor, I tell the parents that to have their questions written down and be specific when they try to reach the counselor and make the appointment with the student, because the counselor may be tied up and it might take the child a while to get there. So if they have something they need to get to that counselor about, to make the call to the counselor, make the appointment, and have their questions ready.
There we go. So let's pre-plan this
Hmm.
call.
Yes.
So I mean, is there a standard list of questions that we could have that parents really, these are the starting questions.
Hmm. So so the questions really are customized to the particular situation. So whatever your situation is, it
Mhm.
might be a situation that the counselor needs to know about, that the counselor, and it might be a problem that the counselor can't fix, but need to refer. An example, the child is not paying attention or disconnected, uh, somehow is not
Mhm.
acting normal. And so you want to talk to the counselor about that to see what observations that he or she has. And then you might want to even meet with the teacher as well, because this is in the classroom where the teacher has more of is in a better position to observe the student. So it's a case by case thing, and the questions for the parent is based upon their unique situation.
It's an interesting place to be
Yes.
in a world that moves so fast because my mama was a teacher
Yes.
and the amount of time, I mean, being a teacher is a full-time gig. It's
Yes.
not a 40-hour a week job. It was a lifestyle
Yes.
being in education. And we have a world now where teachers are almost having to have second careers. They're almost having to have a side gig in
Yes.
order to have a life that they want to be able to fund.
Right.
So we've got the kind of catch 22 about how the world is working or not working.
Mm-hmm.
And the more involved a parent is, I think the better. And they need more guidance. I get that.
Yes.
So I am super, super grateful to have your checklist. Now, we got a question in the chat, and I just want to address this. This is from Peter.
Okay.
It's a belief about differentiated learning. Is
Okay.
differentiated learning a concept that you're familiar with? Because we've had a conversation earlier, and it's about understanding the learning styles, whether someone is kinesthetic or
Right.
verbal or visual or auditory.
Right.
And so, out of those four things, they believe that differentiated learning is actually watering everyone down. And so that's their belief. And they believe the solution is to bring back the bell curve and to have students repeat a subject if necessary. And that it's not realistic that think that everyone is going to pass the first time through a course.
Right.
And so weigh in on this. Let's just go where angels fear to tread.
Yeah, okay. I realize that different people have taken different positions on this.
I mean,
Um,
I
what?
held one of my kids back through a course. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to be full disclosure.
yeah,
He went into honors. I think it was geography or world history. There was
yeah.
only one teacher in the high school who taught it, honors level world history. She had a D and they gave her an honors credit. And I went into the high school and said, oh, no, you don't. A D is not an acceptable grade. She needs to repeat the course. And they're like, there's a, yeah, Katie outed herself. And the school came to me and said, you realize that most parents want to preserve their child's GPA and will insist that they move forward and not repeat a course. And I'm
Hmm.
like, well, I'm not most parents, apparently. I
Right.
thought the important thing here was to learn.
Yes.
And so, I mean, as a parent, this was a really interesting moment in time for me. But from a reality point of view, I don't know if I inadvertently created more problems for my kid than they would have had if I had just let them pass with a D and get the honors credit and move on. How does a parent know this, Dr. Moses?
See, that's the part where parents, it's a tough call. And the thing is,
And there's a
it's a
lot of
personal,
parents.
it's a personal decision too.
There's a lot of parents having to make this call right now with
Right,
this remote learning and homeschooling upswing.
right, right, right. Absolutely. And so I think that to really help the child, it has to go back to this self-discovery piece to try to get the child, because I was just on the phone, well, this week, talking to a parent coordinator and a counselor, 300 students at the school. Um, and the counselor, there's one counselor to the 300 students. Okay. There's one parent coordinator to the 300 students. And right now they're having problems with the students attending class online because this, they're not making that connection. So I'm listening to this, and then I'm looking at the fact that when schools are open, when the schools teach what they normally teach, the students are not making that connection between the classroom and a future. They're not making that connection. And so there are three things that really need to occur. The student needs to be able to when they leave high school, they need to have clear goals for a future. And this does not pressure them into doing anything. It gives them a starting point based upon a process and a foundation that's based upon their life purpose, which is based upon their special gifts and talents that they enjoy. So even if they end up in at the company where you work as the HR, this student then would be trained in one of the three areas where they are gifted.
Got it. Okay.
Hmm.
So I'm really, really clear that there's a classroom career connection that's not being made.
That's right.
And so we've got some things in the chat, and we did talk about your 8 steps, and we
Yes,
didn't give them the 8 steps. And so we need to give them the 8 steps, Dr. Moses. I
I'm
gave
going to
them
do
the
that
good,
right now. Let me.
yeah, but we didn't give them the 8 steps.
Right, right,
I've
right.
also got
Eight
somebody,
steps.
yeah,
Okay, you ready? I'm
yeah,
ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Lay
Okay. 8 steps to choosing your college or trade school major and career based on life purpose. Number one, make a list of the things you desire and love most.
list of loved most. Got it.
Okay. Number two, select your top 3 items from this list.
Got it. Pick three.
Rank these 3 items first, second, and third.
Rank them. Got it.
Yep. Do research on your first choice, second choice, third choice.
Got it. Research all three.
Yes. Do job shadowing Wait a minute. Okay, you at number. This is number 5. I'm on now. You ready?
Right? I'm ready. Number 5,
Yeah.
job
Do
shadowing.
job shattering. Okay, on your 3 top choices and on others if you wish.
Got it. So it's not just job shadowing on number 1, it's job shadowing on all 3.
That's right. That's right.
That's important. Okay, got that.
Yeah, do an internship, paid or unpaid. Don't place the emphasis on just making the money. This is your future. So take the one that's gonna give you the most experience because that is money.
Yep, it will connect the dots. Got it.
Yep.
Experience.
And
Uh-huh.
then 7, make your decision about your college or trade school major only after you've had an opportunity to sample the experience of that type of work.
Decide after the shadowing
Yes,
internship. Got it.
that's right. That's right. And then the example of the person who couldn't stand the sight of blood, if they already know that, they know now they need to, if they want to continue as a nurse, go into administration. You
Yep.
see. And then number 8, choose the work that you love most for a college or trade school major. And if you notice, I said college or trade school major because it might turn out that your purpose leads you to a trade rather than a college degree.
Well, it did me. I finally went to college in my 40s.
Yeah.
And halfway through my degree, I
Hmm.
realized I was studying for a career I did not want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I walked away. I am a
Yeah.
successful college dropout.
Hmm.
And I thank God every day
Yeah.
that I walked away
Yeah.
rather than pursued that and locked myself into a career path that is totally unsuited for me on every single level. It
Right.
doesn't matter whether or not I could do it. What
Right.
matters is whether or not I loved it.
Right. Absolutely. And so the idea of the work that I do is that I want to get the students before they go in and find out later that and then drop out. We can fix this problem on the first end by going through these processes like this.
I got it. And there's some controversy going on in the chat about paid versus unpaid and how every internship should be paid. And I don't believe in shooting on small businesses
Yeah.
because there's a place here where there's an education value.
Yeah.
So we're not going to solve whether internships should be paid or unpaid.
Right.
What
Right.
we are going to solve is not letting that stop
Right.
someone
Absolutely.
going on the
Absolutely.
discovery process. So the earlier in life you start the discovery process, the
Yes.
easier it's going to be.
That's
And
correct.
there we
That's
go.
correct.
I'm popping the link back into the chat for the 20 must know facts to fast track your college success. And
Yes.
there are a lot of tools that will help, as well as just encouraging this discovery process. And it presupposes sometimes that the
Yes.
adult, that the parent has
Yes.
given themselves permission to go on this discovery process for themselves.
Yes. And
So,
let me say one thing about the paid versus unpaid. I
mhm,
wouldn't dare get in any uh, uh, conflict conversation with the parents about that. I understand that some will choose one versus the other, and I understand the reason why as well. So I understand some would say, "Hey, only paid," and I understand all of that. So I thank you.
and yeah, it's like it all depends. That's going to be
Yes.
my answer. The
Yes.
right choice when it comes to paid or unpaid is about
Yes.
it depends. What
Yes.
is the circumstances of the family and what is the lesson you want people to learn?
That's correct. That's correct.
And so we're going to leave that, as they say, we're going to leave the water over the bridge where it got flung. So that, I love to mix my metaphors. Dr. Moses, thank you so much for making the time to be part of the show. This was amazing. We covered a lot of ground and I really, really appreciate it.
I appreciate being here and being part of what you're doing. I think this is great. I appreciate the audience and the feedback. provided. This is what is really needed to help support education. And education can, and all everybody has a role to play, and you are now giving us an opportunity in this setting to be able to do that. So we thank you.